U.S. Route 29 is a highway that runs from the Baltimore area all the way to Pensacola, Florida. It's not an interstate highway, though. It has lots of other names and designations along its route, some of them local roads or even just basically residential roads. I live close to the intersection of Columbia Pike, which is the local name for US 29 in this area, and a road called Stewart Lane, in the White Oak census-designated place. This is a residential area with lots of townhouses and apartment complexes, a community center with a soccer field and playgrounds, and a shopping center. On the other side of 29 Columbia Pike, you'll find the White Oak Library, our local elementary and middle schools, and a recreation center. My toddler son goes to a preschool that is right next to the corner of 29 and Stewart Lane. Remember, I also live right at that intersection. The school is basically right across the street from where we live. If you ask Google how to walk from my house to the preschool, it'll tell you to cross 29 at Stewart Lane and that it takes less than 10 minutes. There's just one problem. Here is the intersection of Columbia Pike and Stewart Lane. As you can see, it's 6 lanes of traffic with a speed limit of 45 miles an hour, which increases to 50 just north of the light. Drivers often go even faster, treating it like the 6-lane highway that it appears to be. There's also this sort of frontage road that runs parallel to it that you have to cross, and you have cars wanting to turn right and left in all combinations. Most significantly, there is no crosswalk here, and the light is too fast to make it across at any kind of normal walking pace. If it seems unreasonable to want an easy way to cross this highway on foot, keep in mind that most of the other intersections, both north and south of here, do have crosswalks. If you keep going north from here, it does become a genuine highway, but if you go south, it becomes more and more of a local commercial street. Where we live is a stretch of road where it is surrounded by residences and businesses, but where cars drive on it like it's a highway. In his book, Confessions of a Recovering Engineer, Charles Marone has a lot to say about this kind of situation. He refers to long stretches designed to get from point A to point B as roads, as distinct from streets, which are centers of activity around local destinations. In between the two, you have what he calls strodes, which try to do both but wind up being terrible for all purposes. They are dangerous, congested, frustrating places to be. So let's say I want to walk across Columbia Pike to get to the preschool, but I don't want to cross 6 lanes with no crosswalk. What is my other option? I don't actually know if there is a correct answer to that question, but the natural thing to do would be to walk along that frontage road. That spills out into this massive parking lot by the shopping center I mentioned, where we lose the sidewalk and all shade. Eventually, that leads me to New Hampshire Avenue, also called Maryland Route 650, another 6-lane highway. Here we backtrack a while and take a rather dangerous crossing at the intersection of it and Columbia Pike. By the way, both of these roads have no bike lanes, but they do have these laughable signs that say that bikes can use a full lane, something I have actually tried and would not recommend. After crossing underneath US 29, we can eventually get onto the frontage road on the north side of Columbia Pike, where we will pass a police station and an affordable living complex for seniors who live across the road from a grocery store that they cannot access without either driving or taking the path I just took in reverse. Right after that complex, the sidewalk just ends, and I have to walk in the street itself until finally I make it back to Stewart Lane. I just crossed the road, and it took me 25 minutes. Lots of people cross at Columbia Pike and Stewart Lane every day. Very few take the long route that I just did. Usually they just jog across the 6 lanes of US 29 whenever they see a break in traffic, since the green light is not long enough to walk it at a normal pace, and there is no crosswalk. If you watched closely, you may have also noticed that I passed a lady with 2 small children once in the parking lot and then again when crossing under Columbia Pike. I believe they must have climbed the hill that divides that lot from New Hampshire, something I could not do because I was pushing a stroller. This is not an uncommon story across many places. These suburban areas were designed for cars and only cars, and they present an inhospitable environment for anyone who, for whatever reason, does not drive. They're bad for the local community, and in the long run, not even good for drivers. People are trying to change that, but amid resistance from property and business owners, often the only ones able to put in the resources to influence local policy. And so you wind up with these weird half measures, like this stretch of lovely protected bike lane that goes from here to there. Ideally, I would like to not have a 6-lane highway with a high speed limit dividing my residential area at all. Narrowing and slowing down Columbia Pike could not only make crossing less dangerous, but also make room for alternatives to driving, like bike lanes and dedicated bus lanes. Realistically, most people who live in this area probably either work locally enough to bike or walk if that were safer, or they are commuting into the DC metro area, which they would probably prefer to do by public transit, since that's the easiest way to get around DC itself. In the short term, we just need a crosswalk, preferably with a longer light and a lower speed limit further up the road. Those simple changes would make it possible for many more kids to bike or walk to school and create connections between the community center and the residences on one side with the library, schools, and recreational center on the other.